What's poppin' YouTube? A Crazy Canuck here, and welcome back to the channel. Well, we have officially earned Platinum for Resident Evil 2, which means we are at the part of the series where we can recap and break down and give our 2 cents about what we thought about the whole Platinum journey. This was my Platinum experience. Let's get into it. Resident Evil 2 was such a step up from the first installment of the franchise. I wish I was able to go back and play it when it first launched on the PS1. It was both groundbreaking and way ahead of its time. As for the Platinum, this list has a total of 42 trophies, split up into 9 story-related, 21 miscellaneous, 8 collectible, 2 difficulty, and 2 speedruns, with a minimum of 4 playthroughs. You heard that right, minimum of 4 playthroughs. Now, it took me upwards of 6 or 7 because I didn't look at a roadmap. Usually, when I go for Platinums, I plan everything out to minimize the amount of playthroughs or backtracking. However, I wanted to get the absolute most out of Resident Evil 2. I didn't want the experience to be hindered of playing the game a certain way that would make the experience a little less desirable. The consensus from what I've heard and seen online that people found Resident Evil 2 to be a easier plat than Resident Evil 1. Now, this might be a hot take, but I'm going to go the other way. And from my experience, I found Resident Evil 2 to be a more difficult Platinum. And here's why. When it comes to plats, I'm a believer in some longer plats not being necessarily more difficult just because it takes more time. However, in Resident Evil 2, you needed more of everything to get the Platinum. More speedruns. There we go. Hey, Sizzling Scarlet Hero. Get an S rank. More difficulty related. Oh my gosh.
Where did this go?
No. What? I was gonna say. Oh.
Arrived at the bottom level.
Oh my gosh. Harder requirements for the infinite rockets, and I didn't even bother trying to get them. More zombies. Oh, that's no good. Yeah, we'll just die. That's fine. That's fine. Harder bosses. I knew this guy was gonna be a pain. It feels like he locks on, like... Sure, you didn't have to go through using only a knife or fighting the invisible enemies. Don't get me wrong, this game is brilliant and is miles better than 1 in every aspect. These things aren't bad and far from impossible, but a good, solid challenge. Before we get into the tough stuff, let's take a look at the collectibles and miscellaneous trophies. For the collectibles, we have 58 files, 15 Mr. Raccoons, 8 safes and locks, and 2 portable safes, along with 6 inventory upgrades. The files in Mr. Raccoon span over 4 different scenarios, while the safes and portable safes, along with the inventory upgrades, can be obtained in one go in scenario A for either Claire or Leon. The files in Raccoons save instantly once you pick them up, so no need to recollect upon deaths or new save files, which is way better than just flat out collecting every single item in the game that Resident Evil 1 had us do, with a whole bunch of item management and backtracking. Not fun. As for the miscellaneous trophies, most will be obtained naturally, like combining 2 items together, boarding up a window, counterattack with a sub-weapon. Ones that I had to go out of my way were Zombie Roundup, Gotcha, Treasure Hunter, 1 Slick Super Spy, Young Escape, In the Blink of an Eye, Minimalist, Frugalist, A Small Carbon Footprint, and Grim Reaper. The Zombie Roundup seemed like something I would have done naturally, but didn't manage to kill 3 enemies at once with a sub-weapon. Luckily, right at the start of Claire's Scenario B, there's a grenade with loads of zombies close by. Not gonna lie, Gotcha is a bit tricky to pop. You have to defeat 2G using the crane once. Sounds simple, right? Well, it failed to mention you have to absolutely pepper him with ammo, and I mean pepper him. Admittedly, it took more tries than I care to admit. For Treasure Hunter, it requires you to find 2 hidden items using photo hints. There is a roll film in the sewers. You have to backtrack to the dark room, develop them, then go to the star's office and press room to find the items. 1 Slick Super Spy requires you to complete Ada's section only using the EMF visualizer, which isn't hard at all. You know, once you know where you're going, you can just speed through it. Young Escape at first glance is a super tricky trophy, all thanks to 1 puzzle. Well, it seems that way anyway. Luckily, there's a trick to do this puzzle almost instantly. While this puzzle is random every time, which itself is misleading, the only thing that changes is how you rotate the blocks. All you have to do is slide the second block into the first spot, and now the second spot into the third, and bam, the hard part is done. It makes this tricky puzzle an absolute breeze. Minimalist and Frugalist go hand in hand. Just simply complete the game without healing or using the item box. This can easily be done unassisted, where you find more than enough ammo for each of the special weapons. I will say I recommend doing Claire, just because she gets a minigun for her final boss and way more room to maneuver. So my choice of opting to do Leon's playthrough versus Claire's playthrough to get both Minimalist and Frugalist turned out to be pretty significant, and there's one reason why. So for Leon's final boss, you fight the Tyrant, and granted, the boss fight's not that difficult, especially on assisted. If you get hit early on like I did, that can be a challenge because you can't heal. There's not a lot of space to maneuver, and he has a lot of range and covers a lot of ground. So you can run around circles, and that'll work fine and dandy, but eventually he's going to cut you off, and then you're like 2 hit. And especially if you're already hurt, you can't dodge his charge attack. You either have to stun him or pelt him with damage to get him out of it. Versus Claire, where you have a minigun, so much room to move around that fight becomes so much easier. Now, if you look at the Minimalist and the Frugalist trophy, if you do them separate, it's a breeze. For the no heals, you have the pistol. For the no box, you can heal. Doing them together, although not impossible, can be quite the challenge. A small carbon footprint goes hand in hand with the S rank trophies. Odds are you will get this in at least one of the speed runs. And on that note, we can get into the heavy stuff. Fourth, Survivor and Grim Reaper. The hardcore runs and of course the S ranks. Grim Reaper. Now, this trophy might be considered the plat blocker foremost. You have to complete 4th Survivor mode. Now, that doesn't sound all that challenging, but when you can't pick up any items and see the amount of zombies in this short scenario, it gets very stressful very quickly. Strategic use of flashes and frags, you can get through it. This is where the power of hindsight comes in. So, for the S ranks, these aren't bad at all, really. You get way more time than needed, so don't stress. I made the mistake of worrying about time so much that I neglected the special weapons for Leon. The Shoddy 2 Hottie and the Mag. I didn't really like the flamethrower a whole lot, so it wasn't a big loss for me. Luckily, in the labs, you get the Shoddy, and OMG, did this ever make a difference? Especially when you fight the boss right after Leon obtains the G virus. But not having it the whole time definitely made it more difficult than it needed to be. It would have helped a lot with the stage 2 boss as well. You don't really have a ton of space to move around, so maximum damage is really helpful. For Claire's S rank, it is tremendously easier. With the Samurai Edge, having infinite ammo pistol makes a world of a difference. However, don't put too much stock into it like I did. It's great for normal enemies, but it gets really old really fast with the bosses, with the amount of health they have. I feel like after you do the initial playthrough, whether it be blind or a guide to get the collectibles all in one go, the S ranks are pretty easy. Once you know where everything is and the best order to collect them in, you realize how short the game really is. Now, this is where I struggled the most. If you guys watched the stream when we did Leon's hardcore run, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We died and died, and guess what? We died a whole lot more. This difficulty is exactly what it claims to be. Hardcore. Now, remember when I said not to put too much stock into the pistol? Welp, that's exactly what I did. For Leon's run, it definitely showed. Like I said before, it's great for normal zombies and the poison guys in the sewer. You can just take your time and kill everything, making this a lot easier not worrying about ammo. But once you progress past the first boss, it just doesn't cut it for the harder bosses. For Claire's hardcore run, we opted to do her Scenario B to earn 2 trophies with 1 stone. By completing her Scenario B in hardcore, we will pop the trophy for witnessing the true ending and obviously complete Claire's hardcore playthrough. Now, the Scenario B offers a different perspective from scenario A. You start in the graveyard when the helicopter crashes, so the order of which you collect items changes along with all the different puzzle solutions. The good news is her weapon location doesn't change. The jewelry box moves though. Just keep that noted if you want the badge for her SMG. Mr. X also comes into play earlier than he normally would in scenario B, which creates a whole new challenge, especially on hardcore. Once you get the 3 medallions, it's the same parts going forward, with an additional gimmick boss after the stage 4 G boss. The formula stays the same for Leon. Take your time, kill everything, get all her special weapons. The shock weapon is way more useful than Leon's flamethrower, I found anyway. I do want to touch upon the infinite rockets. So the reason I didn't opt to get it was the requirements just weren't worth it. You need an S+ rank on hardcore for Leon's scenario A. You have to complete it under 2 hours and 30 minutes with no infinite ammo weapons and 3 saves or less. For scenario B, it's 2 hours. Now, I'm sure you can watch guides or a video to get this done. However, as just too tall of an order and wasn't worth it. Don't get me wrong, it will make the second hardcore run so much easier. Alternatively, if you really wanted to cheese the system, you can buy all in-game rewards for the crisp price of $6.99 Canadian, or right now it's on sale. However, I just can't bring myself to stoop to that level in order to pop a trophy. But if you want to do it, all the power to you. It will make this immensely easier having to do the hardcore on your very first playthrough with the infinite rockets. With that being said, I definitely think this game is worth your time to grind. Overall, I would give this a 6 out of 10 difficulty scale, roughly 30 hours to platinum with 4 to 7 playthroughs. On that note, this was my platinum experience. If you enjoyed this video or found it interesting in any way, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and let me know if you're playing RE2, played RE2, platinumed it, or thinking of getting the plat for it. Thanks for watching. Until next time, happy hunting.